Yes, so there we go. That is the intro to the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. Joining me today is a very special guest, Maryellen O'Shaughnessy, the Franklin County Clerk of Courts. Well,
congratulations on getting some local music
yes.
for your intro. I think that's so great.
Facebook was very kind to us to remind us that we needed to have local music on that one. It worked out well, so that was from Ravane Music, so I'll give the shout out to him.
Wonderful. That's great stuff. That really is.
It's an exciting day here at City Hall, not only because you're here, but today is court day on Wednesday, which is an unusual thing with the Veterans Day tomorrow. But we're going to jump right in and first of all find out a little bit exactly about what exactly do you do. I mean, everybody knows, we know the name, we know the position, but I don't think anybody knows what you do outside if they think that you work in a courtroom. That was probably their number one thing that they think.
Right. This week, just actually this morning, somebody asked me if I was coroner. And 2 days ago, somebody asked me if I was a judge. Aren't you a judge? No, I'm not a judge. I'm Franklin County Clerk of Common Pleas Court. And it's a position that goes way back, way back. You might understand in Ohio, the county system is very old, very old. There are 11 countywide elected positions, and the Clerk of Courts is one of them. And it goes back to the time when people were illiterate, and they needed someone that was learned who could look at these court documents and say, this is what you need, and look at this, this piece of paper that says you actually own this vehicle, and make sure that it was certified to say that was what it was. So it's legal proof. Right now it's legal proof that you own your car. So this is what the Clerk of Courts does. The first Clerk of Court was Lucas Sullivan. And he was the founder of Franklinton, and one of the first guys white guys that was settling this area. So that's it goes that far back. Nowadays, of course, there's been a lot of changes and improvements. At that time, it was an appointed position. Now it's an elected position because we're emphasizing the fact that we are independent of the courts. People think that we take orders from the court. No, there are court orders, of course. There can be those orders, but the Ohio Revised Code has us independent to avoid even the appearance of judicial bias when we're setting the docket or managing the documents. So we manage the documents, set the docket, and we issue auto titles to make sure you've got proof you own your vehicle. We are the largest in the state. I have 200 employees in between 8 and 10 different locations, Nick, right? Depending on who you talk to and where you are. So the funny thing is when people say, well, I want to call you, can I call you at your desk? Can I have your direct line? I said, that's not the smartest way to get in touch with me because I'm a moving target, and the best thing to do is call 525-3600 and ask for Maryellen, and they will find me because I could be most anywhere at any time. I have 4 different auto title locations, and this is one of the things that we really need to talk about is what the clerk does and what the clerk doesn't do. When it comes to traffic tickets, now you take care of traffic tickets downstairs, but Lori Tyak is the municipal clerk of courts, and she takes care of basically Columbus and those who don't have their own, I suppose. And so I don't, in things under $15,000. I'm Common Pleas Court, but the most calls we get are about traffic tickets and traffic citations. No, I don't do that. I don't do that. I do felonies and things like that. Common Pleas Court.
Yeah, we get a lot of our fair share of traffic calls in my office. While it is called Mayor's Court, no one wants me there for Mayor's Court. As a matter of fact, I'm a big fan in Halloween, and that's one of my big holidays. So, of course, last Thursday, or 2 Thursdays ago when it was Halloween, I actually came in and I had my makeshift judge's robe, and I had my gavel, and I may or may not have walked around downstairs at some point in time. I didn't look at anybody and say, that one's the guilty one, or anything like that. But it was kind of a temptation.
Yeah.
Now, with your position, what are some of the biggest challenges that your office has?
Well, we were talking earlier about, that when you sit in the chair and you realize the size and scope of what you do and what you do as mayor of Reynoldsburg, same thing happened with me. I had, of course, spent nearly a year running for the position, and when I finally sat at that desk and realized how big this is, I realized pretty quickly. I thought I had this conception that I was going to learn every line of work, that I was going to go spend time in each of those locations learning every line of work. I would be doing a disservice to the people of Franklin County and my employees to do that. What they need me to do is be a manager on a 20,000 foot level, to look and make sure that everybody has the tools and the resources and the training that they need to be their best. And each court that we clerk for has a different line of work. So we have to understand that line of work and be able to successfully manage those documents in the right way. Now, when I started, we had 2 people in our IT department, and we managed thousands and thousands of pieces of paper every day. I could walk into the office and there would be piles of paper this high, and we struggled to get those things filed within 3 days. What did we do? We spent a significant amount of time and money going to an e-filing system, which has completely transformed the office. When we built the new courthouse, we had a state-of-the-art filing room with automatic drawbacks on all the file cabinets and everything. It was really beautiful. We have 1 or 2 of those still in operation because we don't need them. It's all digitized. And a lot of that information is available on Case Information Online, which is another reason we get 5 million hits a year on our website, because people are looking for court information, particularly if they're doing a quick background check on someone who may be renting from them, or
they're snooping. Come on,
of course they are. Of course they are. But the good news is there that we don't put domestic. So if you want to know something about your neighbor's divorce, sorry, you'll have to come downtown. Now, of course, it's a public document.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we have to advertise it and make it easy for you. Now, all the other stuff, for sure, it's very easy. We have to redact sensitive information, like your address, your social security number, things like that. That's definitely.
I would think that would almost be, depending on the technology that would probably be one of the more time-consuming things. I couldn't imagine what that would have been like before digital, because I'm sure you could have a system you can run through and it just kind of crosses everything out.
We have 3 lines of defense there. First of all, the attorneys need to understand that they need to redact before they put the information in. Secondly, we have a system, definitely a system that is on there that looks for those sensitive information. Thirdly, my deputies take a good look at this before it goes out to make sure that we've redacted the information. So triple line of defense when it comes to that, so you don't have to worry about your private information getting out there in the public sphere. So that's really important stuff. So so we do that, and we do that. My 10th District Court of Appeals I clerk for, they're on the 23rd floor of that big gray tower downtown. My Civil and Criminal Division and my Fiscal Services Division, because we manage all the money that comes in and out from the court system. It's also on the 1st floor of the new courthouse. My IT Division, which is now 15 people, is on the 9th floor, and they do a marvelous job of keeping us up to date. And another cool thing that they're doing right now, we're in a multi-year project and a multi-million-dollar project. That's your money being wisely spent to update our case management system, which was built more than 20 years ago, and it is COBOL based. Did you learn COBOL when you were in college?
I'm familiar with it. Yes.
There aren't people who can take care of a COBOL system anymore. So we really have to update. And isn't it funny? I have to ask you this, Mayor. Do you find that when it comes to application of new technologies, that you have difficulty getting the resources applied to these new technologies that we need to employ?
I think getting them into the system is yes, because I think when cities, and you happen to pick the topic and we're talking about budgets, when you're looking at a budget specifically for a city program, you can look at a lot of things. You can look at what makes things easier and more adaptable for the community, and then you can look at things that are easily adaptable to the city and things that the city needs. And a lot of times, for very good reasons, we tend to focus a lot of our energy for what goes on for our citizens and make our jobs a little bit harder when it comes to budgetary items. And so we're trying to do a better job of that, where we understand to make that ultimately it may not seem like a better technology, easier interface systems, coming in and filling out an application for a permit for a fence online. That's something that would make a lot of people's lives easier, but for us, it's an expensive program to put in place. So while there may be an initial cost, it's, it will benefit everybody else down the way. if you can convince them of that. But yeah, that once it's there, it's a lot easier for
Right.
everybody. But it's getting to that point.
Getting to that point, which was heavy lifting.
Mhm.
It was heavy lifting, and it's really interesting that people complain about government spending the money on this, but when they realize how it improves their lives, they go, aha, I get it. But there's a learning curve,
Yeah.
and it's inside government and it's outside government. It's the people we serve as well. So that's this is something that we need to, as governmental entities, continue to work on, because it's really, people have this idea, especially over in the legislature and others, that you can spend one big chunk of money and it's done. We
Yeah.
spent one big chunk of money to go to e-filing, and now we're spending another big chunk of money to improve this case management system, and it's multi-year, multi-million-dollar project. But it's worth it, and we need to keep up on it, and we need to make sure we're investing in 15 IT professionals instead of 2, because we can't keep up with the size and scope of the work.
No,
we do.
not anymore. Not in a
That's
digital
right.
age all the way across. And I think that a lot of times, kind of going back from our point of view, it's really good to get that initial piece in,
Yeah.
but then it's all the maintenance of it after the fact. And those
There
are
you
things
go.
you have to plan on, because the
Yes.
technology changes and everything changes so fast.
Budgetary plans, absolutely. So that goes back to tell you a little bit about auto title. We manage about 500,000 titles. We issue about 500,000 titles in a year. And again, don't call me about your license or your registration, because I'm not the Ohio BMV. I am the Franklin County Clerk of Courts, and I issue that proof that you own your car, which is your auto title. And that's what I do. But we're the biggest in the state, and we talked about this not too
This was
years
pre-COVID.
pre-COVID.
Yes,
Yeah.
pre-COVID.
We've been going around to people who have fleets, like the city of Reynoldsburg, to remind them, if you title in Franklin County, you're helping keep Franklin County strong, because a significant portion of that $15 for each title comes back to our county if you issue your title in Franklin County. So we had that conversation, and I'm sure your people took a good look at your
all of the
fleet.
squad cars, and we haven't had the chance to buy too much else other than squad cars with COVID and everything, but we are looking to a couple of other things. But now from here on out, not only are all of our cars either energy efficient, energy friendly, or hybrid, or full electric, but they are going to be licensed in Franklin County.
Titled
in
Franklin
County. Even if we do kind of snuggle up to a couple of other counties, we do have a sliver of Fairfield and a decent size of Licking County, but Franklin County is where City Hall is located, so that's where everything's going to come out of.
And that's important. As the largest county in Ohio, we take care of a lot of essential human services. And I know that you certainly partner with Franklin County to make sure that those human services are well met in Reynoldsburg. So how do we fund that? Now, I've been able to, through the years, give $10 million back to the general fund because people titled in Franklin County. And we're making sure everybody knows that. If you work with a dealer who doesn't title in Franklin County, tell them to title your car in Franklin County, because you want that small port, everybody doing their part to make sure that there's that little bit of money goes back to Franklin County, helps us, lift the load. Job and Family Services, consider all the things that Franklin County does. It's really important. So
you met my intern earlier. He was actually a participant in the Franklin County Job and Family Services.
There you go.
That's
Very
how he
good.
became an intern for us this past summer. He actually introduced his own legislation to council on Monday night. So we put our interns to work.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Now, a lot of things have changed, obviously, over the last couple of years, specifically COVID. How has that impacted what you've done in your office?
I am very grateful to have a very smart, nimble, and capable senior staff, and we all worked together when this was all coming down to look at what was going on and how we could continue to provide the services to the court and to Franklin Countyans and still keep our people safe. The court went on limited services, but it was still open, which means we needed to be open. But we put our line staff on leave, paid leave, for about, 8 weeks, Nick? Something like that. While my supervisors, managers, senior staff managed the heavy lifting. Over time, that wonderful IT staff that I told you about that we built figured out a way for case information online and e-filing to go onto a desktop computer and get that to people at home so they could do some of this work at home while we were in the depths of COVID. And that worked okay as long as we had that limited scope of things that were going on over at the courthouse. As they became more active as we've been battling through this pandemic, we had to go frontline to have people back in the office. And so we reintegrated them in and had them there, because every time there's a trial, after the trial, people line up and they want to get their papers, and somebody has to be there to take care of them. Somebody has to be there to answer their questions. And we talk about timely, accurate, and courteous service, but particularly in domestic and juvenile division, we need to be compassionate as well, because people are on edge. You've just been in the court with a court case that has to do with their family or their child. And we need to work. We continue to work on making sure that we're compassionate, because we're the front lines when it comes to the justice system.
And with everything going on, the last thing that they probably want to deal with is issues with paperwork and things of that nature.
Absolutely. And just having a little compassion and understanding about what people are going through, is helpful. And we need that on the other side as well, because people are on edge right now. And you felt that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so we want to make sure everybody takes a deep breath, and if you have any issues, make sure you give us a call.
And communication is a huge thing.
Absolutely.
Now, I know that you're already probably looking at 2022. I'm sure you're having those conversations. You mentioned one of your big initiatives you're doing. Is there anything else that you've got going on for 2022?
That is the big thing. Actually, 2022, we've been dealing with this for 5 years, and it'll be another 4 years before it's totally implemented, because we have to do it court by court.
Yeah.
Right now, it's in the first court, which is one that I don't clerk for, and that's the probate court, and they're busy trying to make their way through this vendor that we're working with.
Yeah, let them get all the bugs out of the system.
Exactly.
To you. That's a benefit.
We're keeping them close, and we're trying to understand where the bugs are, so that we can smooth those out. But that's the beginning, and from there, I think we don't go to civil first. What do we go to next? Do you remember?
I'm afraid I don't.
It hasn't been part of Nick's basket of things he's been doing, but it may not be fully implemented until 2024. And at the tail end of all this, we have to get out to the legal community and do basically a training session to make sure that they understand how it works, and they'll be very pleased, I believe, because we're going to make sure that it's a lot more nimble and effective for them, and it'll help this e-filing system.
Well, I thankfully have very little experience with any of the courts in Franklin County. I was down there, if you weren't familiar, we ended up going through the environmental court and actually
that's over on the muni side.
Yeah, the municipal side for shutting down the Days Inn for many other reasons. But that is about the most experience I have down there, and I'm okay with that. No,
exactly.
No offense.
I know, it's fine.
I'll see you at lunch at Dempsey's or something like that. Along as opposed to anything else. So, any questions from our audience? I can't imagine that there's a huge number of them.
No.
Other things, basically, if you live in Franklin County, make sure you have your cars titled there, especially, so it comes back to Franklin County.
Absolutely.
So that'll help benefit everybody else. I've got a lot of other things to go on. You're more than welcome to stay, but you are busy. Like you said, you are nimble and quick and moving all over the place. So you're more than welcome to stay. Otherwise, we really appreciate you coming on the show today. So.
Appreciate it, and thanks so much to Reynoldsburg for hiring you.
Oh, yeah, very much so. I enjoy it. So.
Well, stay close. Let us know what's going on.
Definitely.
And how we can be helpful.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks.
Nice to see you again.
See you.
Thank you.
So you may have heard a voice in the background. His name was Nick. Nick is somebody I've known for a few years, and I just want to shout out again, congratulations. You got another baby on the way. So.
Absolutely.
And he's not on camera, and he's really happy about that right now.
He's sleepless.
All right, so we've got a couple of other things going on today. For those of you that are out there, if you did not happen to watch the marathon council session on Monday, I've got a couple of things to talk about. The infrastructure bill passed by the House and I believe is awaiting signature from President Biden for infrastructure improvements. These are a number of things that will be coming specifically to the state of Ohio, and we're waiting to see exactly what comes down to us here in Reynoldsburg. But we're looking for $9.2 billion for Ohio's roads and highways, $500 million to assist with bridge repairs, and $12.5 billion available in competitive grants. $100 million to expand broadband to unreached areas of the state, $1.4 billion for water infrastructure, so that'll be something that we definitely take advantage of. $1.2 trillion for public transportation, again, something we are going to take advantage of here in Reynoldsburg. $253 million for airports. I don't think we have an airport in Reynoldsburg, and I don't think we're going to have one, so we'll let somebody else take that piece. But the last one, $140 million for the construction of electric vehicle charging networks throughout the state. We already have a couple here in Reynoldsburg, and I can easily see us having a few more. And last but certainly not least is $1 billion for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative to decrease pollution, prevent invasive species, and mitigate erosion and some rising lake levels out in our Great Lakes region. So those are all things that have been brought to you by the bipartisan deal that went through, just waiting the president's signature, so that's good. And as we move forward over the next couple of months, we'll get more information about what exactly Reynoldsburg will be able to use and what we're eligible for and what kind of grants we can offer. So we've got that going for us. We do have a couple of commissions and opportunities for residents to get involved with what's going on here in Reynoldsburg. The first one is the Charter Review Commission. I mentioned this last week. We're taking applications or letters of interest and resumes for the next couple of weeks to our Clerk of Council for the Charter Review. Reynoldsburg is a chartered city, so there's a set of rules that we have to follow that are based on the charter, and every number of years we go through and try and adjust those rules and see if any changes need to be made. One of the topics that have always come up in the past are things like nonpartisan elections. So if you're interested in being part of the Charter Commission, Charter Review Commission, feel free and check out our website and our Facebook page for some information about who you need to send a letter of interest and a resume to. The Charter Review Commission is made up of not more than 2 individuals of any particular political party for a total of 5. So you would in essence have 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and an independent. So it's nothing that is specific to any kind of gerrymandering or extreme partisan nature of anything. We also have a ward boundary alignment, and unlike the state of Ohio, which refuses to align their districts, be it the state house, or the congressional districts legally, we do that differently, and we're doing it in a bipartisan fashion here in Reynoldsburg. So again, same kind of format, looking for people that are interested in realigning the ward boundaries. This will determine the areas in which different members of council can get elected based on whether they live in Ward 1, 2, 3, or 4. And last but certainly not least for this is the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals. Those come actually directly to me. We have a spot opening up in January of 2021 or 2022. So if you're interested in that, feel free and send a letter of interest and a resume to my office, again, following the same kind of things as before. You'll sit on those, and this would be if businesses want to do a change in zoning, or they request a variance or something like that based on our zoning code. So it's an incredibly important position. That's the good residents that are willing to put in the time for their opportunity to serve the community. I think we may have a couple of questions right now, or do we have any questions?
Yeah, we had one come in. It says the entire infrastructure bill totaled $1.2 trillion. How is $1.2 trillion available to Ohio, given this is a national bill?
That might have been a mistake on my part. It might have been one of those things where they said 1 trillion nationwide overall with everything, or 1.2 billion nationwide. That could easily be something that I messed up on.
Yep.
Typing too fast.
That's it.
All right, so we'll go for the rest of them. So we do have an event coming up tomorrow here in Reynoldsburg at the Memorial Plaza. We're going to do our Veterans Day celebration. People can gather about 9 o'clock, but the ceremony will start about 9:30. Probably last about 20 minutes or so, and we'll have a number of different representatives there. And then beyond that, there'll be some opportunities for veterans to kind of pick up a care package as well. But that'll be at our Memorial Plaza on the corner of Lancaster and Main. You will also see, if you show up, we'll have the first actual pictures available to show what the rest of Memorial Plaza will look like, as far as the brick pavers that are potentially going to be going in there, as well as some monument structures for Reynoldsburg being a Purple Heart City, as well as recognition of all the service branches of the military. So hopefully you can come out, and if not, I'll make sure and share those pictures next week. We also had a public hearing on Monday night for some stream restoration and an erosion grant. So I'm going to show you a picture, and it's not going to be very clear for you, but you probably saw it on Facebook recently. This is some of the work that we are going to do at Huber Park, and we are going to be working to make sure that the erosion factors that are impacting that area are taken care of. Again, removing invasive species, solidifying the stream bank, and then also, most importantly, moving the current path out enough so that way it's safer and not riding right along the stream embankment. So We are applying for that grant along with 2 others that we hope to hear on. We got one. We're just waiting for 2 more to make sure that we find a way to get all this taken care of with as little money from the city going in as possible. But again, there'll be some in there, but it's for good work. Also had a meeting this week with representatives from the Ohio Department of Transportation. So we're going to have some big construction bills coming out our way on 70. The first one will be 70 and 256, and they're looking to do some of that work possibly as early as 2025, kind of realigning the way that intersection is. So that may be something that will be people have to take into consideration, and we'll do some work out there. And then followed after that, I know Councilwoman Kristen Bryant is very much in favor of this one. It's an on-ramp from Taylor Road onto 70, and that will also bypass and cross over into the Pickerington area. So that's actually looking at something that might be as soon as 2028, depending on how things shake out. But those are a couple of things that are coming up there for some infrastructure bills. We did mention some water issues. We've talked about flood mitigation plans. We are right now finishing off our application to FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers to continue on with our survey work about all the waterways in and out of Reynoldsburg. That process will continue, and then hopefully they will be able to come up with solutions to some of the issues that have been with the flooding that has come into Reynoldsburg, especially with the intense rains that we've been experiencing the last couple of years. So we are on that. As with all things, it takes some time, but we are trying to get that grant in so that way we can get that process starting. We also are still waiting for some materials from AEP for the Main Street program. Obviously on Main Street, which shouldn't be too much longer now, the power lines on Main Street between Lancaster and basically the bridge, those are going to be buried underground, so that's going to take some time, and then the rest of the work is going to kind of proceed after that. Also have some news. As you all know, Local Waste is going to be taking over our trash services starting in January. So we are going to start ramping up our public information out there to everybody in Reynoldsburg. And so the first little bit of information that you're going to have right now is the garbage containers that are going to be delivered to all residents in Reynoldsburg starting on December 6th. They are, I believe, the 96-gallon containers that are going to be going in there. And if you feel that you need to have less of a container, then you can make those arrangements specifically with Local Waste. You should be seeing some things in the mail in the next couple of weeks if you need to kind of reduce that size, things of that nature. Your recycling bins that are there that are Reynoldsburg's, just keep them there. Those will also be picked up as well. If you rent a Rumpke container, Rumpke is supposed to be contacting you with when the time comes when they're going to be taking that away, which I would assume would probably be sometime between Christmas and New Year's when the official handoff begins. The other part of that, and the map will be released soon, we're just fine-tuning it, is as you know, Local Waste is splitting up the city of Reynoldsburg to have trash picked up, some on Thursday, and some will be actually moved a day earlier to Wednesday. So as soon as we get that information and that map out there, that'll be pretty good. So everybody will see exactly what it is. But again, that day will be one day earlier, just kind of trying to dot the I's and cross the T's on that one. Any questions on anything so far?
We do have one question in reference to the Blacklit Trail path, and they want to know how will that affect the Tomato Festival?
That's a really good question. Basically, what's going to happen with this is some of the restoration will occur in there, and then it's actually going to be a multi-year process. So some of the work may be done on the stream starting next year. Hopefully, they're actually planning on looking at it sometime after the Tomato Festival, and then the path work will be done the following spring. So hopefully that'll be laid out and taken care of before the following Tomato Festival, which is good news that you brought up the Tomato Festival. We do have rides. So we have secured a contract with a ride vendor, so there are some good rides that everybody's been looking for that we weren't able to get the last time around. So we'll have some more information on that in the coming weeks. Hopefully we'll have some music announcements as well. We had a good meeting this week to kind of lock in and narrow down some potential bands that will be performing here in 2022 at the Tomato Festival as well. So we've got those things going on. Also wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the water rates. As you know, the city of Reynoldsburg is proposing water rate increases. You know that we do get our water from the city of Columbus, and Columbus is raising their rates to the city of Reynoldsburg, and so those rates are being passed along to the residents if council approves. Reynoldsburg does ask for an additional 1% on top of what Columbus is doing for continuing maintenance, infrastructure repair, and things of that nature. So that way, if you have a water leak that is detectable in Reynoldsburg, usually we get our crews out there within probably an hour, hour and a half of getting notified of them. And again, by notified, that means you need to actually notify the water department. While Facebook is good, and I do tend to see a lot of things on Facebook, that's not the best way to get the attention of the water department, but calling the water department is a good thing. Some of you have been really good about contacting me personally, which is great, and that makes it easy for me to contact the water department as well. But then there's some other things in there as well. We've talked about making sure that our storm sewers are cleared out. That helps pay for inspection fees. Any sewer work that we have to do, which is basically lining our sewer lines in different parts of the area. I know we're looking at a couple of different areas that experience a sewage smell during the rains from August 17th. So those are going to be inspected and to make sure that those lines are taken care of. And if not, then we can repair those lines as well. Ultimately, it's council's decision on what happens with that. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of options that the city of Rummelsburg has when it comes to our water bills. We used to be our own water facilitator. Unfortunately, what ended up happening with that is it became too cost prohibitive, and this was probably, I believe, in the 1970s. So therefore, we're not doing that anymore. And to actually start that back up again, if we were even able to get permission, which is highly unlikely through the EPA to actually do that, it would be a significant increase in cost. You're looking at probably a $30 to $50 million investment just in a treatment plant to get it open, let alone continuous operation all the way throughout. So financially, it's not the best alternative. But those are decisions, again, that we're kind of dealing with that were made long before a lot of us were here. So. But if you have any questions on that, feel free and contact my office or members of council and share with them your views on the issue. We do have a couple of interesting things for development. Obviously, the ICE project is moving forward. This would be the 2 ice rink facility on the land in between Hanson and Carlisle. We did sign a developers agreement with them this week, or will sign a developers agreement with them from council's permission after that, as well as a tentative purchase agreement we're working on with Daimler Corporation that will be purchasing the other set of land, about that 5 acres on the Carlisle side of that area. So we've got that going. And we are hoping that we have everything ready to go for the Happy Dragon, what's going to go in there. We're trying to get everything I's dotted and T's crossed to make sure that that's up on the Planning Commission agenda for the first week of December. So we're looking forward to that. And as soon as I have something to share with you, pictures, tenants, things of that nature, I will share them right here live on the show every Wednesday, except I don't think we're doing one the week of Thanksgiving. So hopefully we'll have that information before. Any questions or comments so far?
No.
All right. Our next fireside chat, again, is November 17th at 12 p.m. And joining us will be Kim Petch Miller, and I probably messed up the middle name there, or the hyphenated name. She is the superintendent and CEO of Eastland Fairfield Career Center. So we're at that time right now where students all across the country are thinking about what they want to do when they grow up. I know some of us even here at City Hall are still trying to figure that out. And this is an opportunity for the career centers to kind of explain what they are. This is not the career centers that we were familiar with when we were growing up. These are career centers that provide a lot of great opportunities for students to get great paying jobs right out of high school, some great information there. So we've got that going for us. I'm really looking forward to seeing her. Any questions? Nope. Apparently we have comments that are making everyone laugh here at City Hall, which is good. I'm all about that. Outside of that, again, I want to say to everybody, stay safe, stay respectful, and I think we have about maybe a good 24 hours left of enjoyable, warm, unseasonably warm weather in November before it gets really cold and snowy and all of those fun types of things. So make sure you take advantage of that outside time as best you can. Don't litter. I got talked to by a couple of people at a school district recently. I was out visiting Taylor Road Elementary, and they were talking about how they want to help pick up the litter in the area, so make sure you deal with that. And as always, please put your shopping carts away. It's not too hard, even if it's a little colder out. Appreciate everything. We'll see everybody next week. Bye.